Hey guys, welcome back to North Country. Today's video we're going to go over animal feed, specifically our pig feed. We feed this to all of our animals, but this is the pig's diet. We're going to go over fermented feed, why we use it, and how we do it. So I've gotten a few questions from you guys on our fermented feed, asking us why we do it and kind of how we do it. So we're going to go over the timeline of making the fermented feed. I'm going to show you guys where I'm at right now with the feed, the stage that we're in, and then we're going to create a new batch, and I'm going to give you guys the timeline. So you're going to be able to watch the fermenting process over the course of the next couple of days in this video. So here's our feed. We're getting down to about the bottom third of this barrel, which means it's time to make some more. You need about 2 to 3 days, but it is getting hotter, so we will most likely get lucky and start to get fermenting feed on day 2. So I use these 2 different barrels to rotate feed. You can see the old feed in this one. This is only a week old barrel. This one, we're going through one of these about one a week. We're starting to speed up though. These animals are getting bigger. They're starting to take on more feed. So the process speeds up. But what I do when I'm done, you can see the run marks on this barrel. What I do when I'm done with these is I turn them upside down to get all the moisture out of them, because if you let them sit with a lid on them, they will start to get mold in them. So turn your barrel upside down while you're going through your next barrel. When we get done with this one, I'm gonna turn it upside down and we're gonna start filling this one now. So Deegan's coming over and he's gonna start adding water. And as Deegan's adding water to this barrel, I'm gonna start putting grain in. And we're only gonna go to about 3/4 of the barrel. Because this stuff starts to ferment, it means it starts to expand. It starts to create gases. And if you fill it to the top, you will actually blow your barrel off of these, even with a locking lid. Hey, goaty goat. Even with these locking lids I have on here, I've blown a lid off by filling it up too much and letting it sit and create too much gassing. Okay, so you can see where I stopped filling these buckets up. Guys, these are food grade barrels that we get from a place out here. You don't want metal barrels, especially the metal painted barrels. They will rust on the inside. The paint will start to flake on it because it is wet. You want these plastic barrels, otherwise you're introducing a bunch of stuff into your feed you don't want in your feed. So Deegan's going to continue to put water into this. He's going to fill it all the way to the top. That water over time is going to soak down through into the grain. It's going to help expand that grain, start the fermenting process. And we'll continue to add water throughout the entire time that we're feeding, because it'll continue to evaporate. It'll continue to soak in, and you guys will see what I'm talking about. You'll add a bunch of water to this, and if you think you're adding too much, you won't. All right guys, so now that you can see how far we've got the water level up, we just need to let this thing sit and do its thing. As the heat hits it, it's going to warm up. The water soaks into it. The grain is going to start to ferment, and a lot of things are going to start taking place. It's going to start releasing gases. You're going to see bubbling taking place. And I'll show you guys this process as we do it, but don't think you're going to ruin your grain. It takes a lot to mold up your grain. In fact, if you don't have enough water, your grain will mold. So make sure that you're covering the grain with water. If you can keep a little bit of water right above the top, you're good to go. So one of the most important features of what we are doing is we are taking all of the starches of the grain and we're converting it into sugar, which is better for the animal to promote growth. It's like having a diet of fruit versus a diet of potatoes. Shelby and I also believe that the grain that we feed them, this process that we go through, really affects the flavor of our product. What you feed your animal is going to relate to the taste of that product afterwards. If you're feeding your animal junk, don't be surprised if your meat isn't very flavorful. But if you're going out of your way to provide great feed for your animal, they're going to provide great feed for you. So now all that is left is to put the lid on this thing and let time do what it does. We're going to let this stuff start to ferment. We're going to check in on it tomorrow, show you guys where it's at, and we're going to check in on it the day after that, and we should have fermenting going on. So to speed up this process, if you guys want to get to the fermenting process faster, if we would add the feed to this barrel here that's already fermenting and we put new grain in it and put water on it, we probably wouldn't have to wait a couple of days. The currently fermenting grain in here is going to start the fermenting process of the new grain much faster. So you guys do what's right for you on your farm. You also need to be aware of your timeline. We're up here in North Idaho. It doesn't get extremely hot. If you're in a place like Texas that's very hot, your fermenting might even take place in the first day. So know your area, watch your grain, and choose the best path for your farm. Day 2, guys, 24 hours of fermented feed. Let's go take a look and see what it's doing. I can tell from here, we probably put too much water in. We've got a dome. So here we are. You can see we got a domed lid right there. There's a flat lid, so that's too full. It's actually coming over the side. So Deacon's gonna help me open this thing up. If you guys run into this and you get a domed lid, you're gonna wanna push down on the lid when you break this seal. Otherwise, your grain and your water will come out. We want just the water to come out. Watch your hand. All right, let's take a look. All right, so as you guys can see, we got a ton of expansion. You can see how much higher that is than the barrel. So we just had we have too much mix in it, too much water probably. But none of this stuff is gonna go to waste, guys. As you can see, the chickens are already at it. Now this stuff is not fermented, it's just wet, it's just expanded grain. We still have at least another day before we should hit the fermentation process. What we will do though is we're gonna clean off the top of this lid because it will continue to expand. So we're gonna take a little bit off, just feed it to the animals now. It does not hurt them to eat fresh grain. We're just taking good grain, trying to make it better by fermenting it. So don't feel like you're wasting it, just use it. So here we are, 24 hours into the fermenting process. You can see a lot of this grain is still very bright in color. During the fermenting process, it is actually going to dull up quite a bit, kind of turn more of a brownish, kind of browns and yellows. So this is the rest of the feed. We'll most likely feed all of this today. We'll feed all of this today. So hopefully tomorrow's feed will be ready to go. But we will bring you guys back in the morning and show you what it is at 48 hours. Hopefully we start fermenting and then we're good to start feeding. It wasn't very warm yesterday, so we might have to add a day on to it. Just depends on the temperatures. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Take a look at this stuff. Day 3. I'm gonna check on the feed It is raining today, so we're gonna have to try and keep the camera dry while we go check out the feed. Alright guys, so day 3 is the key. Even with the colder weather, as soon as I open this up, I can smell the fermentation smell coming off of it. I'll show you what it's doing. So look at this, held still. You guys can see the bubbling going on down in here. You see that bubbling coming up through the grain? That is the fermenting taking place. That's just gassing off. You can also see that the feed has taken on that darker color that I was talking about. I gotta feed these pigs, otherwise they'll scream through the whole thing. So let me get them fed and we'll be back. Alright guys, so we have fed a couple of the animals. Here's our feed. Now I was telling you guys you want to add water to this stuff. As this is fairly dry. All that water that we've put in has soaked up. Now it's pretty dry, but we want a better consistency. We want water level in here, trying to come about just over the top to cover it so it won't mold up. We have a designated shovel for this that we keep over in the feed, and we'll stir it to get that water to go down in. As I'm stirring this, guys, I can smell the sweet smell of the fermenting going on. It does stink a little bit, but it's a fermenty smell, not a rotten smell. You can see as I pull it up how dry it is down below. So like I was saying, you could add too much water, but you're gonna be fine. As you go down through this, you're gonna continue to add water. Part of the reason we add water is because we do not want it to mold. Also because we're sticking it in the free feeder for the pigs, we need it to fall. So you want it to be thick and runny. You don't want it to be too runny, but you don't want it to be too thick. If it's like that, it'll dry up and then it'll get stuck in their feeder. If it's like that, it's just gonna run and overflow out the bottom. So you want a nice mix of it, something like that, because you want it to fall and run. Alright guys, so I'm done feeding for the morning. I'll come back this evening, but we're gonna add a bunch more water to this, because as we continue to add water, it's gonna continue to soak it up and expand. So I throw a little bit more water in it. So this evening when I come out, hopefully we won't have to add any. It should be a good consistency. And then after I feed this evening, I'll throw more water in it so that we're good and runny by the daytime. All right guys, so that is the fermenting process. I hope it helps you out on your farm if you choose to do it. On video 2 of this, we are going to talk about the physical and the financial benefits of, get that sun out of there. We're going to talk about the physical and financial benefits of fermenting your feed, why it's good for your animal, why it's good for your farm. Guys, thanks for watching. Let's get these pigs fed and we'll show you how much they like this fermented feed.